What's the fastest you've ever gone from caring about someone to straight up loathing them? Post by SecretSweetness. When I was younger, I found out one of my childhood friends was stealing from me and the friendship group. Every so often we would lose a phone or iPod, then said friend would have conveniently got the same model but beat it up a bit with his initials in Tipex or something stupid. Being a good friend, we didn't want to believe it, but we started putting distinct markings on our items. Lo and behold, my phone goes missing and he turns up with the same one a few weeks later with the markings. We brought him up on it, but he just lost his temper and stormed off. 15 years later he's in prison for armed robbery. They say you'll end up in the career that you liked as a kid. This one is totally on point. As fast as it took for his wife to call me at work to tell me that he was not only married, but had 3 children including a newborn. That is brutal. Sorry. A former friend bailed on me when we were supposed to hang out, and so I called my then girlfriend to see what she was doing, and I could hear him talking to her parents in the background. Having your friend bang your girlfriend and her parents? That's rough. I have a 2-for-1 deal here, walking in on my now ex-boyfriend having sex with my ex-best friend in my own room on my birthday party. It's like they got together beforehand and brainstormed as to how they could make it as insulting as possible. Talking to my then GF about her cheating on me. Explaining I couldn't ever possibly trust her again, and she replied, "But do you really need to trust me?" Clearly had different ideas on what's required for a healthy relationship. I still love playing Pokémon, and I had no female friends with the same interest. Found out about this group of guys that played it after school. Got really excited and made plans with them. I waited for hours and they never showed up. Next day I overhear my best childhood friend laughing about how annoying I was and that they had to hide from me to play in peace. That really hurt. My ex-girlfriend. We were childhood sweethearts. Dated from 17 to 25. Found out she was cheating on me with her boss, who was more than twice our age. Then proceeded to find out there was many more occurrences and she was a very different person than the person I'd been dating. Shattered. That's almost exactly my story, but I didn't find out until I was 30. I feel for you. My best friend back in school got AF from the teacher. Me and him asked if we can go to the toilet. I go to the toilet to text a bit with friends from other school, he goes to the parking lot and scratches the teacher's car. School break and the teacher finds his car, we both get called to the director, etc. etc. Friend said that we both scratched the car. I showed the teacher my phone to show him I was texting and couldn't have scratches his car, told friend to f*** off and went out. The benefits of constant texting. First time texting got you out of trouble at school. 1-year friendship with this girl. I invited her over to my new apartment. She came over and wanted to gossip about her coworkers. When she paused, I tried to add into the conversation, make a joke, give reassurance, add a comment, etc., but she would immediately raise her voice and start talking over me. I kept getting angrier every time it happened until I was actually loathing her internally. She was so self-absorbed that she didn't notice I went from smiling and engaged to frowning while staring off into space. After 2+ hours of not being allowed to talk, I made up an excuse to kick her out of the apartment and then vowed to never see her again. The first girl I ever dated died unexpectedly on my then current GF and my's 3-year anniversary. My then GF stated she was pissed because my ex had died on purpose that day because it was our anniversary. I was utterly disgusted and it completely changed how I viewed her altogether. Things fell apart shortly after and we broke up. Sounds like your ex's plan worked well. When he straight up denied my existence in front of his friends. Coworker had a dog who she let run free on her property. Said dog liked to chase cars. So it was only a matter of time, and the dog was hit. Dog couldn't walk for 2 days, was dragging herself around for days after that. We told her to bring her to the vet, and she refused, because it was too expensive. We pulled together the money and told her, bring your damn dog to the vet. And she did. The dog's bones in her legs and pelvis were shattered and the dog had no chance of recovering. Coworker finally let the poor thing die peacefully. So anyhow, it was $50 to put this dog to sleep. And since then, every time my coworker spends money on something frivolous and shows us novelty socks, collectibles, an expensive cake, another f***ing pet, I think about how she decided bringing comfort to a dying animal wasn't worth paying for. I don't know if I would ever stop hating that person. Hurting animals is non-comprehensive for me. I don't get it. Especially if it's your own dog. My father abandoned me and my ill mother. He just ran away. I am a single child, so I had to take care of her on my own. It was hard. I loathed him, hated him. I no longer hate him, just fogo about him. Hating someone for too long takes a heavy toll. I am grateful to have had the chance to take care of my mother and help her get well. I had this teammate who was such a good athlete, but he was not starting or even playing in any of our games. Naturally, I was sad and curious as to why coach would hold out on playing this guy. As he was running routes and I was throwing him the football. He accidentally bumped one of our assistant helpers, as coach would like to call them. Instead of apologizing, he shouted, "Watch where you're walking N-word. Damn you blind as f***." Right then and there I stopped the drill and walked out. I kinda like you. Your autism is probably caused by vaccines. Okay, I kinda liked you 10 seconds ago. Isn't it amazing how some people don't even realize that they're pieces of shit? Or really stupid? Found out this girl I was getting close to had been lying about her ex being a deadbeat dad, and well, her ex. He wasn't just still in the picture, they lived together. I should have guessed after the third or fourth time she made an excuse to not go to her place. Never ended something so quick. Did we date the same woman? One summer back in high school years, I had a crush on this girl and we'd hang out when we weren't working together. A friend of mine would keep insisting that I should just ask her out. So I mustered my courage and asked her out. Yeah, it was a glorious fail. I still remember when she smiled and told me the truth. That was when I found out that they had been secretly dating for a year and thought it would be a lark to just f*** with me. 100 to 0 in a few words and a vicious smile. There's an older woman at work who seemed pretty okay. Then I overheard her talking about her toddler granddaughter, saying that she's a little hooker and shakes her booty at any man, and that sexualizing of a kid creeped me right out. I was at a party which was very druggy. About halfway through the night someone dashed into the house and told us that one of the lads at the party had attempted to jump from the roof of one house to another and had f***ed it up, and was lying in a heap on the floor. I've never sobered up so fast in my life. It was like being hit with adrenaline. We ran outside and, sure enough, the lad was in a mess, completely out of it. One of the lads who had brought a lot of the drugs to the party got out of there so quick, and was able to pocket a couple of mobile phones and some cash on his way out. Fucking scumbag. Hey. I get the feeling there could be many stories about me. I had a terrible personality until my early 20s. Sorry everyone. I'm going to imagine that every single entry in this topic is a single person. It's much funnier. Friend at a bar tells some people we just met how her mother died. Later in the night I express my sympathy, now she's without parents. She'd told me hush hush a few years prior about how father had passed. Wait, did I tell you back then my dad died? I thought I told you it was my mom. No, both my parents are still alive. When we were in uni I just read in a book telling people a parent has died is a good way to get sympathy. Ha ha, f***ing sociopath. My husband adopted my son when he was 3 after being in his life since he was 1. Gave him his last name, the whole 9 yards. When we had a child of our own, who was a girl, and decided we were done having kids, his mother said to me it's a shame we aren't having more kids, as she would have liked someone to carry on the family name. I have only tolerated her at holidays ever since. When he became angry with me about something trivial, agreed to disagree instead of conceding to him, and then he proceeded to tell me he should beat the shit out of me because of it. Yeah, no. Done. My childhood friend, he lived pretty close to me and seemed like a nice dude until he stole my GoldenEye and moved to Minnesota. Fuck you, Derek. Yeah, f*** you, Derek. When he started being condescending to me in almost every conversation we have, in about almost every topic we talked about, then him complaining to me that some people can't handle him having such strong opinions on topics he's passionate about. When my grandfather screamed at my mother that she had ruined his life by being born. Never spoke to him again after that. In April I went on my yearly 3-day trip with my mom to Las Vegas. In that time, my ex moved out of my apartment. I found out because the landlord called, concerned I was moving. I knew nothing about it. I then called my ex, to ask what on earth was going on, and she didn't pick up. She left furniture that I am still trying to get her to take, and took shit of mine that she won't give back. Now stuck in an apartment I can barely afford, struggling to survive. I can't move because my rent is cheaper than anything else in my city. It's been tough. Really made me lose all respect for her. When the guy I'd been really into got a little tipsy and confessed to me he'd had an affair with a married woman. Okay, he was young and it's not that uncommon when we're immature, overly emotional and idealistic and selfish. It had been off and on for 20 years. And possibly produced 2 children. Who they just let her husband raise no matter whose they were because guy I'd been seeing just wouldn't be a good father. I have never, before or since, experienced such a moment of instant shock, disgust, and loathing. I was just like, hey, thanks for telling me you're trash early on. Saved me a lot of time, left him at the restaurant and took a lift home. He called me for 2 days wanting to explain. There would be a possible explanation for a short fling when young and dumb. There is nothing that explains that. When he found out my ex was black and was disgusted by that. Went from a nice guy who I could maybe see a future with to complete racist poss who I never wanted to see again. My mother fought cancer for 5 years. My father let my sister and I do 95% of the work, caregiving, and after her death expected us to step into her place and take care of him. The man I used to love and respect is gone and I can't stand to be around him anymore. When a former friend lied to the cops which almost put me in prison for 10 years. Care to elaborate? That guy deserves to be in prison for 10 years I swear. My husband and I split, unhappily but amicably. I spoke to one of his friends a few days later who said the night we split he slept with his secretary in the new fancy bed we had bought only a few months before. Instantly healed my hurt. Oh how cute, it's okay I'll go and save the princess in the other castle. One castle later, no not this sonopha again. When they were mean to an animal. You are an absolute legend for making it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. And if you can't get enough, consider subscribing. See you around.